I guess one of the main ways that real estate agents and buyers agents assess how to price a property is the comparable sales methodology. And that is one of the valuation methodologies that valuers use. So real estate agents, buyers agents generally are not registered valuers, but they can use a similar methodology. And the comparable sales are certainly something that we talk about ad nauseum in your First Home Buyer Guide course and then within the PACE system, because it uses real data and relevant recent data to assess what the general marketplace are paying for properties that are similar to the one that you're looking at. Now, there is a real method to this process, and we go into that in quite a bit of depth, but if a market is moving in different directions, then there's also different layers that you kind of have to put on the comparable sales methodology, isn't there? Because data that's 6 months old could be completely irrelevant if you're in a fast rising or rapidly decreasing market.
And this is the thing. Okay, so you've got a bank valuation, for instance, and valuers are limited generally in that they can only use settled property. So there's a difference between a sold property and a settled property. And the difference is that when it's sold, we call it exchange in New South Wales.
Unconditional in Queensland.
There you go. So when it goes unconditional in Queensland and it goes into a settlement period, and in that time, you've paid your deposit at the beginning when you had your price agreed to and terms, et cetera, and you've exchanged contracts or whatever you've done in wherever you are to actually seal the deal and
put it under your control.
Commitment to buy that property. Yeah. Then you got maybe 30 days, maybe 42 days, maybe 70 days, maybe however long that your settlement period is. And in that time is between when you've agreed on the price and when you actually pay the rest of the money. Now, valuers are generally limited to using settled property. So that's could be 6 weeks after the property was, bought. And in a rapidly moving market, whether that market is going up or down, that means that they can be 6 to 8 weeks, however, 3 months even behind the 8 ball in terms of their assessment of value. So in a rising market, they're likely to be behind. And in a falling market, they're likely to actually value properties too high, because they're looking at the rear vision mirror. So when you're pricing a property, you really are best to use the methodology that Megan's saying, which is comparable sales in the way that we do it. We're not limited to just use settled properties. We can use exchange properties or unconditional properties. So as soon as it's gone unconditional and the agent posts it up on the website saying sold at
auction result is released,
Yep. Then that is something you need to look at, because the closer you can get that to the day that you're pricing up your property, the more reliable that data is. And you do need to adjust it. If it's a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, you have to be watching. And the most accurate way to do that is to say, well, if you're in an area where similar properties are selling, it's really quite easy to gauge the difference in prices, because, like last month, the house really similarly is sold for, 10% less. Or
and we in as buyers agents, we're monitoring those price changes really closely. So I know you and I use a similar methodology to have a look at, well, this is what it's worth based on the data, but this is what somebody paid. So what's the differential? What's the percentage difference? And are we seeing a consistent difference between what the data is telling us things are worth and what properties are actually selling for? And generally we can see a reasonably consistent. And it's a good way for first home buyers to actually monitor how quickly the market is moving. And if you can get a hold on that, that gives you a way to use the data and then add the premium or the differential to get a reasonable hold on what that property might be worth today versus 4 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, so that you're not overpaying, but you're also not the schmuck that keeps missing out because you're constantly lowballing and everybody else is well above you.